So what have I been working on for the last 2 weeks? I know a lot of you have been wondering like what I've been hinting at and kind of like what kind of nerdy thing I can be up to now. And this is it. It looks just like a TV and a keyboard and mouse, which is a pretty standard setup except for one major thing. I'd say about 2 months ago, I started a project using one of these, which is a Raspberry Pi. It's a small credit card sized computer that runs off very little power off an SD card. And my initial plan was to put this into a self-contained box that can run a bunch of different consoles and arcade machines. Well, I did that, and I'll make a video about that another day. But the limitations were the interface was a little slow. The progress and the development of emulators for this are getting along there, but nothing really running that great yet. And my programming skills are only so good that I can't really write everything. So I decided to put this on hold for now and work on a more powerful system. But when I say more powerful, I don't mean top of the line today's hardware. A lot of people out there have done these major like game boxes and consoles where it's like, every arcade game from now until the end of time, and then it's every current PC game, every current console, all that stuff running in this machine, and that's great, but they all run off really expensive, really high-end hardware, and that's something that I feel that defeats the purpose of, kind of like my Tinker inner workings that I have. So what I did is I obtained a really cheap shuttle computer that runs off of a whole 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's running Windows 7, kinda. I'll show you in a minute what I mean by that. And it's running, a Intel dual core, I think an E5500, 2.2 gigahertz. Really, really slow, out of date. 8-year-old processor, 8-year-old motherboard, 8-year-old hardware. No video card. It's all internal. Same thing with sound card. The whole thing. But the point I wanted to make was I'm really good at optimizing hardware to work with emulators, especially because that's kind of what I, grew up doing, like with these whole emulation community. So what I did is I basically reconfigured Windows from the ground up for myself, as well as optimizing the front end, the interfaces, the emulators themselves, the software. Every level has been optimized to run really good on a system that, if you built from scratch, would cost you less than $200 today, which is phenomenal. The original plan, and it's still the plan, but I have to get parts in, is get rid of this temporary 720p TV. This is just an interface for now. Get a real monitor in there. I'm going to attach up another 360 controller, so I have 2 players for that. And I'm building my own arcade controller, which is all going to go into a nice cabinet, speakers, the whole thing, which overall I'm going to have an arcade cabinet that in theory should cost me less than $400 from top to bottom, including all the computer hardware. So enough of my talking, because I'm sure you're probably bored of it already. Let's show you how this thing's running. It's I'm going to boot up in cold. It's off right now, so we'll see all the little tweaks I've done. So booting it up, this is from absolutely nothing. This is from being completely off. So first thing you're going to notice is I changed my startup, so I'm eliminating a bunch of different bottlenecks. It's going to go through the BIOS. Once it's in the BIOS, it'll start loading up to what I have altered, which is my stripped down, tweaked, and optimized Windows 7, which you'll see right now. I already changed the startup screen, in theory. Come on. There it is. Okay. So it's little Space Invaders. You can dance around the screen. There he goes. That means everything's working. It's going to go straight from this. It's going to go to the initializing startup screen, and then from there, it's not going into Explorer. It's going right into the front end, which is going to run all the emulators. And right now, I'm going to control it all with this 360 controller. And again, the final plan is to run this thing going out from an arcade controller as well. So I got all the good systems here. I got arcade. I got Atari 2600, I got Atari 5200, I got Atari 7800, I got Atari Jaguar, I got Atari Lynx, so that covers all the old, obscure stuff. Nintendo Entertainment System, Super Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo 64, Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, Virtual Boy in all its 12 games, Sega SG-1000, which a lot of kids don't remember, Sega Master System, which sadly also more kids don't remember, Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, depending where you live, 32X, Sega Saturn, Dreamcast. Then there was the Japanese-only PC Engine, which was cool. And then we had TurboGrafx 16, which some kids had. PCFX, which I've seen only 2 of these in my life, like real hardware, but I have them all in here. Neo Geo, console version. Neo Geo CD, same thing. Neo Geo Pocket, which again didn't really do very well, but they existed. 3DO, which was a system I personally loved, but it was really expensive. RCA Studio 2, so now we're going way back, especially Pong. Astrocade, which is another old system, obviously. Arcadia 2001, the CX4000, Creativision, which, man, these are Intellivision, ColecoVision, yay! I love my ColecoVision. WonderSwan, that's another portable console. And then, of course, WonderSwan Color, which is the color version of said. I also added some PopCap games in here because they're small and they're stupid and whatever. Dice, which for those who remember, which basically runs off the original Pong hardware. More old arcade games that aren't emulated by MAME. Then I subcategorized Nintendo's arcade system, which is basically Nintendo games running on arcade cabinets. Laserdisc games such as Dragon's Quest, Space Ace, Dragon's Lair, Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, blah blah blah. Neo Geo arcade system, I subcategorized that as well. Sega M2, which is a more common game still, you know, I figure retro enough. And some pinball games, which, you know, I'm not really interested in. However, what I want you to notice too is front end is great, where in fact it plays videos as you go along. But let's say I enter a console, for example, so I want to go look at arcade classics. When I get to there, I have every arcade game, pretty much from beginning of time to 2000 in here, with titles, Beziers, everything you need, plus, you know, the videos, which is great, so I can see what I want to play before I play it. And then if I wanted to start a game up, you know, I can just kind of like, you know, press start to get in the game. It's going to boot up, and there we go. It's going through the NRAM setup, and there we go. There's a Neo Geo game, for example, see? Which works great. And if I want to exit it, just press the key and back in the main menu. I can keep pressing back, and I'm basically, with no lag time, I'm going for the system. So let's go to Nintendo, which, you know, works sometimes. I still have to configure that, but let's, you know, start up. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, good choice. Starting it up, and it's going to change resolutions, but should work. Should work, there we go. Because that lags from the monitor, not from the system itself. But now I'm in the game, I can exit it. Same goes to if I go back to Super Nintendo, which, again, this monitor lag is not part of my system. Super Nintendo, let's go there. Let's actually play a game here. Let's go from A to B to C. You know, I can go all the way down just to see how a game works. You know, let's see, what's a good tester? One of the super games. Let's go find one of those. So R, S. And, you know, it runs pretty fast considering it's running on a system with 2 gigs of RAM. So I give that some credit to me for that one. I mean, not to stroke my own ego here, but that was not easy to do. Let's see. God, there's so many games. All right, Super Mario All Stars is a good start, right? So it's gonna load the emulator. Bingo. Good to go. Controller's working just fine. Now the configuration, the key mapping for every controller is mapped, you know, perfectly. So I have no issues. So I'm gonna start a Super Mario 1 game, even though I'm gonna probably suck at it because I'm kind of trying to pay attention to what I'm saying while I'm playing. And plus, I'm playing at a weird angle. But you'll notice that, you know, it's running fine. It's running exactly like it should, except for my shitty game playing. But yeah, so if I want to exit out, I can just, you know, press back. I'm out. I'm back into my console, so I can go play another game or just back out even more. You know, I have N64 on here too, which is great, which is, you know, the extent of my 3D gaming here. I do have PlayStation 1 games available that I haven't put in here yet, I don't think. Let me see, did I? The problem is that a lot of the newer systems are harder to emulate, so I really don't mess with them. But, oh, I should probably add my, yeah, I guess I didn't put my PlayStation in here, I have to do that still. But other than that, I got a lot of games here at my disposal, and it's just like version 1 or Vision 1. I just need to sit down, put more systems in here. I have actually a bigger game plan for some more current PC games. Well, not really current. I say current PC games, talking like, you know, 5-10-year-old games that are still worth it. They're cool. But yeah, so that's what it is. And of course, exit the whole thing, you know, bang. And then you'll notice when I exit, it doesn't really go back to Windows. It goes to my custom shell here, which has got no taskbar, no icons or anything else. So that's what I've been up to. I know it's probably more hyped up than it's worth, but I'm going to give you guys progress upgrades in this, you know, as I go along. This is something that I'm very, like, unsure, and a lot of you understand what I've been doing with this, how much work goes into it, but there you go. So I hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to showing you guys more.